we have John, he, him from California. This is an interesting conversation topic. Watching this show converted him to religions. So why don't we get John on the line? And John from California, did I get your statement correct?
You did. Hey guys,
All
how's
right.
it going?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Before we start, I kind of just wanted to say, so I've been on this show a couple of times before. That's a pretty bold claim, right? And if it happened to you, you kind of have to call in, right? Like you'd have to at least try. I've had some
bold claim. Which claim was bold? I'm sorry, I didn't hear which claim was bold.
A lot of them. I think so. This show converted me to religion, and then the Bible happened to me in real life is a pretty bold claim. Before we started, the last few times I've called, you guys kind of think that I'm trolling. I'm genuinely not. And to be honest, the only reason I called today was to just be in the queue I like listening to the show. Even if the show doesn't like me, I really like the show. So I was kind of just trying to listen today, but I'd be glad to talk about it if you want to.
Okay, so why don't you tell us what's the biggest reason that watching this show converted you to religion? Maybe we can take a background step and say, before you watched the show, the statement you make implies that you were not religious, and then you watched the show and you became religious. So I think what I'd be eager to hear from you is how that worked, is, not 10 minutes of it, but a sort of high level summary of how that happened. What were the biggest, the one or two biggest factors that convinced you of the truth of some sort of religion? Which religion did you convert to due to watching this show? And where are you now? Why do you believe what you believe now?
Sure. So my background is, when I started watching this show, I was still pretty young. I was like an 18-year-old senior in high school. I actually only came across this show because one of my coworkers, my old boss, showed it to me. He was a pretty cool guy. He kind of turned me on to. I really admire this show for the way that you handle logic, the way that you're very careful about, challenging people's premises, and just doing things in a very structured and formal way. I think it's hard to find shows, honestly, anything out there that does that in the same way that you guys do. So honestly, it had nothing to do with religion to me at first. I wouldn't say I was an atheist, but I was agnostic. Religion wasn't a super, especially, I was like an 18-year-old. It wasn't a huge factor in my life, and I didn't necessarily take it too seriously. And then, as a joke, after hearing the flying spaghetti monster thing, I started going through the Bible, trying to see if I could pick out like Bible quotes that would support the idea that Jesus is the flying spaghetti monster. And I'm telling you, that shit converted me. I am full-blown. I consider myself a biblical literalist, full-blown Christian. This has changed my entire worldview. So I'm pretty sure Jesus actually is plants.
Actually is what?
Plants. The flying spaghetti. Some people joke that like the atheist experience, the flying spaghetti monster joke goes too far. We're not being nice enough to religious people. As a religious person, I'm saying it doesn't go far enough. This converted me. This is real. This is amazing.
Okay. Jamie, I'm gonna put him on mute here for a second. I don't think there's a legit reason that this person's calling in at this point. Jesus is plants. I'd be eager to hear from Jamie if there's any interest in continuing talking here. But
well, first of all, the flying spaghetti monster is not an invention of the atheist community of Austin.
Correct.
It's something we used before. It's just an example of the unfalsifiability of God. We never claim that it's real. And insofar that Jesus, or at least his divinity, is also unfalsifiable, then yeah, I agree. There are some parallels. But there's also parallels to Roland the Closet Goblin behind me, or, Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, or pick any other number of gods we've made up to be an example of unfalsifiability. I'm kind of willing to engage for a little bit, but
all right.
But this is the same John that wanted us to literally that the daily bread is literally bread, and the Christians should be giving out more actual physical bread, and so I want to take this call in a very different direction, John. What do you hope to get out of this call? Are you there?
I'm sorry, the tone cut part of that out.
Yeah. What are you hoping to get out of this call?
Like I said originally, I kind of called in today just to hoping to be in the queue, just trying to listen into the show. You guys don't like me, but I really like the show.
You can listen to the show without being in the queue,
I
Chief.
can walk you through my position.
So
it's easier to call for me just because of my phone. I've had issues getting the live stream working, so sometimes I just call to listen. But
okay,
you're right. I can figure it out elsewhere.
So I'm with Jamie. I can't take you seriously for a couple of reasons. One, the claims you're making are so ridiculous that maybe only you in the world either believe them or are lying about them. And that really is the dichotomy we're dealing with, right? You're lying to us now, which I tend to, at this point, to believe is more likely, but I don't have final evidence of that, so I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. Or you sincerely believe this, in which case I then have to ask myself, what is the usefulness for continuing this conversation? What is the real world implications that some guy that says his name is John from California believes that Jesus is plants or is the literal spaghetti monster, or that Christians should give out literal bread and that's what they're commanded to do? What's the real world implication of that particular fact that you are out there? And it's so minimal compared to the problems that this world is experiencing right now that I don't think our listeners have much interest in hearing this. So I'll give you another chance. I'll ask the same sort of meta question that Jamie was asking. I'm just going to come out and say it. Do you feel guilty at all by calling in and doing this?
Not at all. Like I said, I was hoping I could maybe just listen. I do listen to the show a lot. It's a good show.
Okay. Every time you've answered a question right now, you've answered with, I listen to the show a lot. That's how you started the beginning. That's how you started when I first asked you a question. It's how you started when you answered Jamie's question, is now how you're answering here. That's irrelevant to what we're asking you. I think you should be a little bit, if you truly believe this, good for you. Please don't call back, because I don't think anybody in the world cares. I think it is much more likely that you are not telling the truth. And quite frankly, you should feel some sort of shame or guilt about wasting people's time in an era when we are facing the very real probability that people who genuinely have religious beliefs are going to come to such a point of power in this country that they will be able to enforce their beliefs on others through our government, that the First Amendment is going to go away or not be enforceable anymore. That's the world we live in right now. So as for one guy that likes to say, Jesus is the flying spaghetti monster or Jesus is plants, and just call in and say that and then refuse to engage except to say, I like the show, you should be, quite frankly, ashamed. Do you have anything else to add, Jamie?
Yeah, if you like the show, as you say you do, then you should know the kinds of questions we would ask of someone that we believe is being sincere. So if I believed that you were being sincere, if I was giving you the benefit of that doubt, I would ask you, two people come to me. Both of them declare that they know that Jesus was real and he is the spaghetti monster or is plant. One of whom actually has the truth, and the other person is either mistaken or lying or trolling. How do I tell the difference? So can you, maybe one last thing before we sort of move on or anything, how do I tell the difference between you? I'm going to give it to you, that I'm going to believe you out of the goodness of my heart that you are actually being sincere. But how do I tell the difference between you and someone else who's saying the same thing and is not being sincere? How do I tell the difference?
That is a really good question.
I know it's a good question. Can you please answer it?
What if I actually legitimately what if I actually start a church with money behind it that I put real effort into based on the idea of free beer and free popcorn for everybody? Like, can I call back in at that point? It's a real thing that you would know about.
That would not prove anything. That may prove the efficacy.
Free beer and free popcorn for everybody.
So John. That may prove your sincerity, but I'm already giving you that. You don't have to start a church. You just have to tell me, how do I tell the difference between someone who's sincere, like you, because you say you are, and I'm believing you, and someone who isn't?
Yeah, so we're dealing with Poes Law here, right? This is what we're struggling with. Like, Poes Law says basically, given any amount of ridiculous claim, when you have fundamentalists in your society, it becomes impossible to distinguish satire from reality with respect to fundamentalist claims. So yours is a crazy out there claim. There's pretty much nothing you can do at this point to show to us that this is a sincerely held belief, other than engaging in honest dialogue. And so far, you come across as very dodgy. You don't answer questions. You just want to talk about, you like the show and you just want to listen. So I guess the one question I have before we go is, if you are insincere, what is the point? What are you trying? It's the same thing that Jamie said. What are you trying to do with this call?
Why would I be doing this if I wasn't sincere?
You would be surprised.
To share my beliefs that I believe are pretty impressive.
So to share beliefs in a vacuum is just sharing for either attention or because I'm gonna mute him a second. So your question was, why would you be doing this if you didn't believe it? You've heard of prank calls, right? You've heard of crank calls. You've heard of people who are just attention seeking. We were just having this conversation between us, the crew, and our backup host, Scott, before the show. Like, why do some of these people call in? Because it's tough to filter out. Poes Law is very strong. It's tough to filter out. But when somebody fails to start engaging, then I don't have to believe or disbelieve their claims. What I can start to do is to doubt the sincerity of their efforts to communicate. The point of this show, in addition to exposing the logical fallacies that are common in religious belief around the world, is to do the things that we say in our mission statement. It's dedicated to the promotion of atheism. It doesn't relate to your calls. The promotion of critical thinking. We're not doing that here, right? You're not engaging in critical thinking. Secular humanism. We haven't talked about that. I don't think that there's really a point in talking about that with your call, because I, again, don't believe that you're sincere. And the separation of religion and government. Taking your call when neither of us really believe that you're sincere really furthers none of those missions. So I think we should just move on. Jamie, do you have any last comments?
I mean, he had his chance. I'm sorry, John. I gave you very, very... And if you were a fan of the show, as you say you are, you've just seen this coming a mile off, that you have two people giving me the same claim. One of them is sincere, the other one isn't. How do I tell the difference? And all you could say was, that's a good question. I'm like, I fucking know it is. It's why I asked it.
That is a little pet peeve of mine, is when you ask somebody a question and then they go through this preamble of 60 seconds of, well, you see, that's a good question and it made me think a lot. I understand that talking to people live on a stream can be disorienting. It can be odd because maybe you're listening to hold music or some other, the lagging of the live show, and then you jump in and people are talking to you and you might need to catch up mentally. Totally get